cards and stuff like that. And of course, back then there wasn't really that many people here, you know. And like I said, there was Laura Farley and Don and us and the Gaines Hicks and the Coxes, and I could tell you how the waterfront, every building on that waterfront, you know, was, which we call the flats now.
Right. And who lived in all the houses.
And who lived, yeah. And like I said, like you said, you stop down here at the G Street or one you said, Mark, going to the beach, the last street, that was it. And where those, that Souvenir City or whatever this place is up here now, the Memento,
Right.
Pat McNamara's
Cottages were there.
cottages was right there, and that was it. And then we started going down the Island Road to Frenchie's. Do you remember Frenchie's?
No.
Huh? Okay, we'd go down the Island Road to Frenchie's, and right when you turn to go, you know, the very turn where you go and stop at the stoplight down there, go into Flower Bluff, is where Frenchie's was. And he had strobe lights in there. And my girlfriend and I went in there and go all the time. And I got so tickled because I was dancing with this guy, and he said, man, look at that gal's green teeth. Because Betty had false teeth. And those strobe lights, it showed, and they were green, and oh my God, I laughed. I never, but that's where we used to go and stuff.
So you'd have to go all the way down there.
Oh yeah, well that was something too. But you know what, just like we was talking earlier, Mark, you see, every night, every single day on TV and stuff, and believe me, I watch it, but this stuff that they got on TV now, and when we were kids, we didn't even have a TV. I think my dad was, honest to God, one of the first ones on this island to get TV. And he had a 50-foot telephone pole that he had to put in the yard, and the TV was octagon shaped, and it was about that big, you know. I'll never forget it. And we could see carpets, you know, but we thought we was really something with that television. But the kids, I mean, you know what we did? We went to the dumps. We'd all get in a truck, you know, what was it, a 39 or 40 back in those days? We'd get in the trucks and we'd go down to the dumps and shoot rabbits or shoot guns or stuff, you know, and ride around in the trucks and just do like that. When I was a kid, where we lived on the corner of Oaks and Oleander, right across the street, I've got fiddler crabs. I mean, that whole thing was nothing, you know, nothing but fiddler crabs. And we lived on that beach in the summer. I haven't been on that beach, and I couldn't tell you how long. I mean, we lived down there, you know. But what they do today, the drink, see, the kids back there, I mean, we didn't do that kind of stuff. I mean, you know, they didn't sneak out and drink, and I don't know. We just did what we made what was here to do. We lived down there on the sand dunes. Lenny McDonald, you know, and his mother then lived on it. We'd go out and she'd fix sandwiches for us and everything. We used to be called, and I was king of the mountain. I'll never forget it. You can ask Pat McNamara and Tommy, bless his heart, I loved him. We'd go out there where they had the battles, and they had those, you go inside underneath this,
the gun mounts over by,
yeah, and you could see the bags packed and stuff. It always scared me because I couldn't stand to be on the ground.
You remember the cutouts for the ammo storage?
For the
sandbags?
Yeah, we went there. Yeah.
See, we don't have. I don't think we have any records of those. We
No.
know they existed.
Well, see, I think where Pee Wee and them built their that house out,
Right.
and where Freddie Blacker and them lived back in there, that's where all those sand dunes and stuff were. And I think they must have cut them all down or something. Yeah, but they had bean bags, and we would play in these places, you know. And Doris would fix us sandwiches and stuff like that, and we'd go play on those sand dunes all day long and try to throw somebody off, and whoever could do that, you know, and keep them off. I threw Pat McNamara and Butch. I was mean. I was a tomboy. But I just think of the things that the kids could see the stuff that we did back then and think that we had time. No, there's no way.
I don't think they have the imagination today.
Yeah, I mean, sit there. My grandson is 9 years old. He gets up when I get up on the weekends. I go in there, and he's on that game thing.
I know it's
I mean,
different. It's totally different today. But what you're saying is very interesting. The things that you would find to do.
Yeah, and we had a blast. And
What about
Mark,
the
when we got those fiddler crabs and could sell 2 of them for a penny or whatever it was, well, if we get that 50 cents, we thought we were something else. And, you know, like I said, my first job was at Mathews, and I was what they call dock gas girl. Me and Nona Beth was what, you know, go out there, and of course then we just hand the boatmen's their gas, and they'd fill it up, and there was this guy, his name was Joe Dutra, and he owned the Wolf, and he was Austrian or something, but nobody liked him. They thought he was just the meanest old son of a bitch, and I loved him to death. I got along with him great, and every time he'd come up there with that boat, I'd go out there. Hi, Joe, you know, and he'd always tip me a quarter. And they couldn't, nobody would wait on him, but I remember Joe, you know, Jack Speed, there's so many of them.
And that was your first job?
Yeah, was at Mathews.
Do you remember what you made?
God, I think $7 or something for a month or whatever it was, I don't know.
I mean,
But yeah.
That's always interesting to hear the wages.
Yeah, like $7 or something a week. Yeah, something like that.
And it's interesting that it's girls working the gas pumps.
Oh, yeah.
Today it's always,
That's
always
right,
boys
boys,
that
yeah.
have done it.
But
Even
yeah,
in
I'll
my
tell you
day.
how we did it at Mathews. All the boatmen, and I think there was, if I could go down in my mind, I could tell you how many. But what they did, they had these little boxes. They built these little, like a beer box, you know, a beer thing. And they would put so many of this, and so many leaders, and so many hooks, and so many hooties, and so, you know, in this box. And you would come take your party and go fishing. And when you'd come in, you'd set that box down, and you was charged. You left with 3, you only came back with 1. You was charged with that. That's how they charge. But they made these lineups, what they call a lineup. And Mark Young would be at the top. I'd be down at the bottom, the next thing. All right. When this person came in to go fishing, Mark would take them out. You would go on the bottom of the list and rotate back up, unless they came in and said, I want to fish with Mark. You would stay there. If they did, somebody just came in and you was on top, you'd move down, and that's how it would come up. And there was a bunch of boats, you know, bunch of guys back then.
That's a very fair way.
That's how they did it. That's how they did it.
How often did they have charters? Were they busy every day, or?
Yeah. I mean, Daddy, in the summertime, they were pretty busy. I mean, that's how they made their living in the summertime. Like I said, wintertime, they all had to charge and stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They duck hunted and stuff like that was mostly what they did. Instead of the bay fishing, they had little skiffs, what they call, you know, they don't even know what skiffs are, I don't think, anymore. But that's what, you know, that's what they used to fish in.
And I understand they towed them behind the boats, and
Yeah.
and then they'd go duck hunting in them.
Yeah.
And did the skiffs have motors on them for the most part, or were they?
Yeah,
In
because
those
I know
days.
Daddy had a little one, yeah. But one of the stories that's funny, years ago when Mother and them, they was going to Rockport to a dance. And they all was dressed up real nice, and there was Mother and Woody Owsley and I think Katie Merkovich, and I can't remember the other guy, but they went and they got stuck or something in this boat. And when the other people was coming back from the dance from Rockport, they was still sitting out there in that skiff, you know, and their hair was all dressed up. But all night long they had to sit out there. I think Uncle Bill was one of them too, Bill Moore. But I could sit and tell you stories that, I mean, of course, a lot of people like to hear them, but that's some of the crazy things that they used to do, you know. And the same thing as us kids. I mean, we just didn't have the exposure and stuff that kids got today.
So I find it interesting, when they go to Rockport, they actually just went by boat?
Yeah, yeah. And that damn causeway, I drove that thing for 4 years, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, because I played basketball and everything. I was cheerleader. And that old wood causeway, and me and Butch Housley used to go and try to pass where the 3 turnouts was every once in a while, and we'd pass each other, you know. Very carefully though, but we did. We drove that thing for just you could go maybe 50 miles an hour, but you better stay on those 2 pieces of wood, you know, that old causeway.
I don't know why you'd go 50 miles an hour. I'm not sure why you'd go 50.
Because that's just the way we were, you know, terrible.
Who were all your friends? Who did you run with in those days? Who were some of the people?
Sissy and Mary Ann Sims were, I mean, my sister was Mary Ann's daddy's daughter. My mother was married to Alan Sims, which was Billy Sims' brother.
Right.
Or, you know, Stinker?
Yes.
Okay, that's Uncle Billy, and then Alan was my sister's daddy. Mother in heaven was married before she married my dad. But there was Betty Revelle. Have you seen the book with Port Aransas with those gorgeous girls
Yes.
on it? Well, I'm one of them.
I know that.
Well, there's Sissy and me and Betty and Ann Studeman and Dorothy Roberts. She was also a good friend. That's Hop Roberts' daughter.
Okay.
She had the chicken shack. Chicken shack, is that what it's called? She made the best damn tamales, enchiladas in Port Aransas. Dorothy Roberts' mother and Hop Roberts.
Hook and waiter?
Cook and waiter.
Okay.
It was Hook and waiter?
Yes.
Cook and waiter.
Cook and waiter.
Cook and waiter, yeah.
That was Hop's daughter?
No, it's Hop's wife.
Hop's wife.
Hop's
Okay,
wife.
okay.
But Dorothy, the one that's in that picture in that book, that's
Okay,
Hop's daughter.
okay.
But,
Hook,
and they have in the book, they have Phyllis Sims. It is not Phyllis Sims, it's Florence. It's Sister Sims. They got it wrong.
Did we hear about that?
still hearing about that.
Are you?
Yes. The cook and waiter was where exactly? It was-
Okay, I'll tell you where the gaff is.
Okay.
That was it. And they built a home. Hop built his own home down there. And Mark, when I say Ragtown, it was Ragtown. There was some cottages right there where the Crazy Cajun is. There were some little cottages, 3 of them, I think. Martin lived in, which was Annie Mae's mother. Now, the Imer we know, you know.
Oh, no.
Okay. But her house was here, and then Hop and them had this old house they lived in, but they built this home and they had an open house. Had this kind of walls and stuff. It was beautiful back then. It was like this. I don't know what happened to that house. I don't know where it is. But then there was the Delanos. There was Baltazar Alvarez. Who else lived over yonder?
I think there was some of the Belchers actually lived there.
On around.
Herman Belcher.
On around, yeah. They kind of lived where that Italian place is now. That's where their house was. But all of that was And then, of course, like I said, when I was a kid, they had these two old guys that drove around in a hearse, and they lived down by the pilot office, where the pilot office is now. And,
Gamperts.
huh?
Joe Gampert.
Is that their last name?
Yeah.
Yeah, they was like old Jews or something, and they had this, oh God, and those kids would tease him terrible too. Those old men. Yeah, but they lived down there by the
What they lived in, was it?
Huh? A little shack, I think.
Shack.
Yeah. A tent or something, you know. It was,
Do you remember Cecil Butcher?
yeah.
As a kid, I remember some shack down towards Charlie's. What do you remember about that?
About Cecil,
Yes.
wasn't he kin to Freddie Blackard some way?
I don't know. It's a name that never comes up. Cecil Butcher never comes up. But he was one of the old fishermen.
Yeah, yeah.
And
But
he was squatting down by the
where the dumps, I mean,
where the pier is
where the, yeah,
and so forth there in Charlie's pasture.
yeah,
And had a shack and boats and junk around it. But
yeah. Cecil, yeah. He wasn't around though for a long, long time, you know.
but that was probably the last squatter I've ever heard of, you know. 'Cause
Yeah.
years ago, everybody squatted. All that rag.
Yeah,
was just
Well, that's how Bill Moore, you know where the Bill Moore is, the service station and the fish house, what do you call it, tackle store, right across the street that those guys on now used to be where Uncle Bill and them lived.
Right.
All right, that's how they got it, squatters' rights. And years ago, I had to sell my property, you know, on Oaks and Oleander.
Yes.
Had to sell all that property because of back taxes that they never paid them. I mean, Daddy owed taxes, you know, and he had money. That's what, you know, spent money like crazy. But I didn't even know it until after they both died and everything. How much taxes Daddy owed. They just never, and Johnny Mathews never paid taxes. And
It was just, they just didn't pay.
they just didn't pay them, you know. He could have paid it, but they just didn't pay it. Don't ask me why, you know. I guess, like I said, they're a little bit smarter nowadays than they are because and that's why I sold that. I mean, I didn't sell it, but I told these people that bought it, you know, they was auctioned off over in Corpus. If I would have had enough sense, even me, you know, I could have went and borrowed the money and gotten the property, but I didn't, and it's gone. But that place will always mean something to me because that's where I grew up. And like I said, Jed and Johnny and them, Mary Jo, right behind us. I mean, they lived right behind us.
So you just grew up right with them. In fact, I think we have pictures of Mary Jo playing out in the slough, and so we can kind of relate with what you're describing.
Yeah, and like I said, where the oceans of seafood is we learned how to swim right there. Big old, huge.
Now your house was blown away in Celia.
Yes.
Do we have pictures of that house?
Yes.
I don't believe
Yeah.
I've ever seen it.
I'll have to get them. Yes, I do.
I think that's one house we don't have any pictures of.
Okay.
And
I have my photo album at home.
I don't recall it.
I think I have it in my photo album at home.
Yeah, or I've got a whole bunch of little pictures too.
Mm-hmm.
That, yeah,
Who built the house?
my dad had somebody build
He
it.
didn't build it himself.
No.
We had a lot of house builders here in the
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
We had Mercers, we had
Yeah,
Farley.
and that's another thing. The Mercer home, where I remember the Mercer home, when I was a kid, is where Haney's trailer park is. And it seemed to me, Mark, like it was green. The house was green, old funny colored green house. But it was right there, or here's W.D. Gates's house, straight across this way where Haney's. That's where the Mercer home was. homes.
There was 2 Mercer homes, and that was,
They said the other one was across the street, I think, where the graveyards are, the little graveyard.
I believe it's where Burton Curry's house was.
Burton Curry's,
That's
yes.
my belief, and I think everybody disagrees on that, but
No, I agree with you.
that's, my belief is Burton Curry's.
I
property.
agree with you.
Um,
Now Laura and them lived, Laura and Don Farley lived in that one down from where Russ Maget and them lived.
Right,
Okay.
where the Clantons,
Huh? No, Clanton's is over the hill. Russ Maget's is, because I'm trying to think of what that would be. That would be Oaks.
that's Oaks and
That would be
Mercer.
Oaks. The very last one, where you stop on Oaks before you go over the hill where the Clantons live, because that's where the Farleys
Okay,
built their house right there. After they was on, down from, because I said I don't know the streets, but where Melvin and Maurice lived,
right.
where
that was-
Una
that was
Farley
White
and Don
Street.
lived, huh?
That was White Street.
What's this one coming this way?
Mercer,
Mercer, okay. Well, I guess it should be, yeah. Because Don and them lived in one house on Mercer Street where Debbie,
Tracy,
Tracy and them lived, yeah.
and the Dryers were across the street.
The Dryers, Dewey Dryer
Yes.
was, but the Dryers, Edgar Norris and them, is down there on Roberts, I
Right,
guess
they're
it
on
is.
Robert, but the,
Yeah,
I think the main Dryer family originated, they were over there where Dewey's property.
is that what it was, huh?
I think we've got pictures of a big house.
Yeah,
That was there. Of course, they had 13 kids, so.
yeah. Well, that wasn't the Farley house though?
We have pictures of that too.
That one, yeah. Because I know that we, when we were kids, we'd go there to Donna Mae's
You,
and play.
you do remember the Mercer house, which is a different Mercer house than the one
Yes.
we know of as a museum.
Yeah,
But you remember where Haney's trailer park was?
yes,
Yes.
yeah.
And did you know any of the Mercers?
Winks, yeah. Yeah, because we went over there when we were kids. That's why, you know, Donna Mae Farley and Marie, and I can't think of Donna's cousin's name, but in the Mercers, there's Winks Mercer, which married Brumley.
Westmoreland.
Huh? He was from
W-
Ranges Pass.
Winky,
Winks.
Wi-
Winks Mercer. Yeah. She
Who
married
do you think
she-
they married?
Westmoreland.
Westmoreland.
Oh, didn't she?
Westmoreland?
No,
No,
he-
it wasn't
they-
Westmoreland.
Uh,
It was, you're talking, he was a coach down Aransas Pass that she married, and I can't think of his name.
Now,
I'll think of it when we leave, you know.
well, that's, I'm sure. We've had several conflicting reports, and we're still trying to track down, but there's another old cemetery site. Similar, it could be where the track is, or it could be on the other side of Beach Street where the track is. And we've had several people, I think Johnny Martin Mathews has some recollection of it. And at the time, Beach Street did not exist, so it makes it difficult to place, but there's an old cemetery in that area, which if you think about it, it's real close to the Mercer areas, and the Mercers had their own over here.
Right.
Do you ever remember any discussions or any?
That's the only one other than ours, you know, out here, the old.
Correct.
That's the only other one that I've ever heard of that had somebody buried there, which was the Mercers. They had like 2 or 3 of them out there, graves.
Right.
But that's,
You don't recall any others? Over there by where you were playing White Hill
no,
and,
no.
it probably predates you.
Yeah, it could,
But I didn't
it
know
could,
if
yeah.
maybe your dad ever said something about it.
Yeah, nope.
We'd like to find that someday. And
Yeah.
we've heard enough that we know it exists, or we have enough to believe it exists.
Yeah,
But-
it's just, but you know what, like I said, the people y'all are talking to is like Donna and Frederick, Manny Mathews, but there's nobody left. There's my brother, which he left years ago. There's me. There's Johnny Martin. There's Mary D. Mathews. There's Nona. Her brother's gone. Both of her brothers are gone.
We have
Which was
Bubba,
a
we have
Matthew.
Bubba.
And Bubba Molina. And Lloyd Newmay. I mean, that is it. Now, our kids, which Johnny Martin didn't have any but Mary D's and Frederick's, Manny Matthews's, and Nona's and stuff, Marcy's kids. But other than that, there's Port Aransas is gone. There is not any.
We find we don't have to talk to the oldest ones. We have to talk to some of them that have heard the right stories.
That's right, the kids.
And those stories are just like some of them you've mentioned today. They're very interesting.
Yeah, like you said, you say the old timers. Well, we're the old timers now. I mean, there's not any. And that to me is so sad to know that there was 10 kids, Mathews's, and all of them are gone. Almost all of their kids are gone, which they are all gone. The 10 kids that were, the Mac are gone. Every single one of them. Now the kids, the Matthews children that had children, like Bubba, he's the only one left out of Aunt Bessie. Me and Tony, out of Daddy, out of Tony's, there was just Daddy. And of course now it's just us, me and Tony. It's our kids that's left. There is, and that's sad to me. You think about Port Aransas, and to me, that's what it used to be as a Mathews, because there was a bunch of us here, and every one of them has made livings here. Our kids have made livings here. They've gone to school, they've graduated. They've had kids. There's my, granddaughter. Now there's my great-granddaughter, Great, isn't she? She's my great-granddaughter, yeah.
Is that right?
Great.
Yeah.
And she's a Mathews.
She got blood, you
You know,
better believe she
that's
is.
Interesting thing. We still have Mathews.
Yeah.
They'll be here. That's
Yeah.
why we need to document as much as we can.
Yeah. But I just hope that they do, who's ever doing it. Sissy told me today that Charles Roberts was trying to get something done about something here named after a Mathews.
Other names too.
The place up there used to be the constable and the police station.
Yes.
Okay. The new part of it, the old building was there. The new part of it, D. Wayne's drug money built that place. I don't know if you know that, but that's the drug money that he got. And he had, they made that great big pretty Texas deal that he had on it. Yeah. I don't know what happened to that either. I don't know where that went. But yeah, D. Wayne's, the drug money that he got built that new place on there. And thank you for saying that about him. You personally was a friend of yours, because he was a good man, and he was a good cop and an honest. And I'll tell you what, he was the first one that bought dogs in that school down there for drug things. He bought some prisoners down there to the school to talk to the kids. He hated drugs. I mean, he hated what it did to kids and stuff like that. And he loved the law. I mean, that's, even though when he was a kid, he was mean. I mean, he beat the hell out of kids, and fighting, yeah.
It probably made him a good cop.
That might be.
Because you have to be mean to discipline all your people.
Yeah.
Did he ever have kids?
Dwayne, yes.
I'm trying to think.
He
He has
has.
one boy?
He has one boy and a daughter. Now his boy, is named Thompson now, Dane Thompson. He was by his first wife, Susan. And then he had Deanne, which was by Connie, or no, by Patty.
Do you remember their last names?
No, because when they left, she left him. She worked in Aransas Pass, and she, for some reason, her and this guy that she worked with fell in love or something. She left Dwayne.
How about Susan? Do you,
Susan, her, Dwayne, they divorced.
what was her last name? Maiden name? Do you recall?
Yeah. Sissy can remember it too.
Was she
Yeah.
local?
No, she was from Dallas. No, she was from Dallas.
And
Turner, Doug. Was it Turner? No. Fuller.
Troy. Now, see,
Doug Fuller. Her dad owned a liquor store and stuff where the Dallas Dome, whatever you call it, where they played football. What was the old one called?
the Cotton Bowl.
The Cotton Bowl. Yes, he owned a liquor store and stuff there, and he also cashed checks and stuff for people. That's Doug Fuller. That was her name.
Now, some of your jobs you had before, you know, you mentioned Mathews.
Yeah,
What?
I've done just about everything, Mark. Worked at Mathews, worked at the Wilson's Grill for Roy Hyder as a hostess. I worked at the Hangout as a waitress.
Those were all the places to be. Those were all the places to be.
Yeah, I owned the Malibu for about 6 years. I worked there and for Cammie Booth, and that's where it was named Malibu. Bubba Molina and Cammie Booth, that was their thing. And then when Cammie died, he was like 32 years old, or 34, died from cirrhosis of the liver. Well, I took it over and we leased it. My dad leased it for me, and I had that for about 6 years. And one of the storms came, I guess the last one, and you know what the island looked like. And I just I told Daddy, just let the lease run out and don't take it anymore. Because I figured it was going to be months, years before this island. In 6 weeks, it was booming again, you know.
It was.
It
It was amazing how quickly
It was.
recovered.
It was just unreal.
The damage was devastating.
Yeah, our house was, I mean, it's terrible. Yeah, there was just, you know, and you look back, I just watched the other night on the TV that Katrina and what Brad Pitt has done to that place down there and the money that they've given, you know. We wasn't that lucky.
There wasn't that kind of aid
No,
before.
no.
And I think even some of the trailers in your
We
park were some of the old
We lived, yeah,
city trailers.
yeah, they sure were. They sure were.
And I remember recognizing.
We lived, yeah, Daddy had a huge generator that he took down there to the community center, and he let them use and everything. But hell, we had to have the lights off at certain time at night. You know, when it got late, that was it. There was nothing. We'd go down to the community center to get food. We'd go down the beach with soap and go on the beach and walk.
I got one more topic, and
Okay.
I know it's long and late.
Okay.
Since you were born in '39, you may have some memories of wartime, back when we had World War II.
Yeah.
Do you have any memories of what was, you know, when they started the gun mounts and built them? Do you
No.
remember anything about anything?
No.
Did you have to keep lights off, or?
No. Not here. Ain't it that I can remember. The only thing I can remember, like I said, about lights and all that was in the storms. That's the only thing.
What was the worst storm you ever went through?
That Celia and Carla. Which one was the last one?
Celia.
Celia. Yeah. That's when it really. And my dad had such a beautiful home. We had 5 bedrooms and stuff, and he had 2-car garage, and up he had what do you call it? Terrace like, with rocks all over it and everything. And after that storm, you'd walk in his house, Mark, and there was a mirror he had, like a 10-foot or something wide in his house, and it looked like another room. Well, when that storm hit, the roofs from those cottages, I think they're all gone now. In fact, I know they are right directly across the street.
Snapper courts?
No,
No.
Snapper Courts was
They're
there.
down the road.
Yeah, it was these cottages that, there was about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them on stilts.
Yeah.
And the roof came off, and it was like this, and the mirror, it cracked. I mean, just like you would take it and crack it right down where it hit the wall, and it went in this way. And that mirror just cracked as pretty as it could be, just like two parts of it. But seeing, they went in there and it had 5.5 foot of water in it, 18 inches of mud. And Daddy built these sticks and tried to get that mud and stuff out. And there's pictures of us standing out there, Mother and Daddy and I, and it was like killed my mother. And he just had the Corps of Engineers come in and bulldoze it down. And that's when he moved to Aransas.
So it just was too bad a shape to
Yeah.
Well, I thank you for.
Well, I appreciate it, Mark, and I really do.
I would love to sit down with you, and maybe we don't, just take notes and when you're over here.
And I will. I'll get with y'all or something, but I
And
appreciate it.
these stories are just valuable.
Well, it just, I've always loved Port Aransas, and I've always been proud to say, I was from Port Aransas and grew up here, and these big city people and all that's now coming, it's like I said, it's not Port Aransas anymore. It's all about money. It's all about, and I can understand that,
It's a different time, it's a different.
Yes, different, yeah. But you don't see somebody helping, just like you, Mark. I know that, built a home over here for Cherry Lee. I know that you was behind all of that. People don't do things like that anymore,
No, they're too selfish.
Yeah, it's just, like I said, it's all about money. They just did things different back then,